So, yeah, okay. Second thing, procrastinating. Yeah, whether it's procrastinating to start a project or to record your songs. I'm picking on Antonio. Yeah. Okay, so sorry I get caught up in my stories. Choosing to procrastinate was one of the second biggest challenges, especially when I started wanting to do projects, like courses or the websites or stuff that I've written, songs, recording my stuff myself. So choosing to procrastinate, I noticed it was from beliefs. And when I actually asked myself, why don't I want to start this? Why, when I sit down at the table, I, turn and go towards the couch or go towards the fridge and walk around in a million different circles before I sit down to do something. So, and I had these beliefs that said, I can't do it. I don't know where to start. So why bother starting? This isn't going to be any good. So, which is something that came up while I was making this presentation. It's come up before, but really doesn't matter. So I'm getting information across. I don't have enough time, or this will not be exciting. And these beliefs create sort of overwhelm, and leads to procrastination and laziness. So maybe if you call yourself lazy, so my definition, what I think that really is it's just you're overwhelmed and then you just don't bother doing anything. To me, that's what laziness is. If you really look at the beliefs behind why you're not doing things. So, but if you look at why you're doing things, you ask yourself, why am I doing this? If you look at it from the perspective of growth, it's a lot different. Because there was an assumption, I'm doing this because I have to, or so I can get something out of it. But if you're doing whatever you plan to do, or what's in front of you, if you're doing it for your growth, then you'll always get the growth from the process of doing it. So, and yeah, I said this before, so just to reiterate, when you're working on projects or things that are in front of you, it's not just to get them done, you're getting something from doing them, even if it's just an email. When I'm writing an email, I will make it sort of like into a little art project, how I can best word things, and I'll highlight things in bold or maybe different colors. And I notice people actually answer my emails when I do that, because it stands out from everything else that they get. So I had also an insistence on how things need to be or how it turns out. But really, you don't know, and I didn't know. I didn't know how this presentation would turn out. So on that, I would say to make the purpose about the growth, about the expression, and the things that come up for you while doing it, like I said before. So this presentation, how I have it ordered, it's an expression of myself, of my thoughts. And some of the beliefs that came up while I was doing it, I stopped the presentation and I looked at them, even for the rest of the night, even when I was running short on time. I stopped and I looked at it because I realized that was the point of me doing it. So it'll navigate you into the direction of your growth. And when you have completed something, like I said before, it no longer serves you because the process has been completed, although it can support you and serve others. When you have artists that write music that you really like, they go through a process when they write it, of that expression, the order of everything, the lyrics, the recording, the adding of instruments, and when it's done and they have a CD, the growth process for them is pretty much done at that point. And what you have is the CD. And other people can listen to that, and it can serve other people, and they can be inspired by that art, by the acting of of someone else's passion, they can be inspired to do the same. But once it's done, it's done. So that lets you know that the process of doing it is the point. Process is the point. Yeah? It's about the, what I say, the journey, not the destination, from a bigger perspective. And so when I made it about growth, then, and got rid of this assumption and insistence why I'm doing it, then these reasons didn't come up. I would just start, and I could always correct something. Except for my stick figures, I couldn't fix them. Any other questions on procrastination, or if someone wants to share their experiences with procrastination, or if anyone relates to it in any way?
Yeah, sometimes I struggle to make the difference between something I'm not excited about and something I want to do but I procrastinate. And sometimes I try to do this thing where I follow my excitement, so what you're talking about, and then there's something that I seem to want to do, but I just don't do it because, and I don't know if it's procrastination or I just don't like doing it. For example, like I like doing videos for YouTube, but I hate editing them, and so I just don't do it. So it's like kind of a...
It sounds like you have a definition of editing that you don't prefer, because I've spent hours editing, trust me, and there's growth in that arrangement of things in a very particular way. So you just need to see it as a part of the process. Otherwise, if you rush through editing, it determines how everything turns out. Yeah. So I would take a look at,
what I think of it or what I believe.
yeah, because you're invalidating that part of the growth of this process of creating a video.
Yeah.
So yeah, take a look at that. You know, or if there are things you need to do, like we all need to do, like dishes, laundry, or maybe monotonous tasks at work. Always ask yourself, how could I make this, if you know you have to do it, how can I make this more exciting? Could I put on music or something else, video on the background if it's not too distracting? So half the time I just put on music and ask yourself, how can I make this more exciting? If you have children and it's like an hour before their bedtime, how can I make that hour more exciting? So, I know she has children, so I don't know if anyone else does.
Actually, for 1 hour before bedtime, so I already get nervous. I will get nervous.
You'll get nervous?
Yeah.
Why?
Yes, actually, it's a lot of stress that you have to
prepare them for bed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you make that more exciting? Do you make it to a game for them, or?
But I slowly make it work. Like in the past, I have 2 children, so they went to bed around 10 o'clock, so 10 p.m. or 9:30. So it was very late. I have no time for myself. So I decided to change it. So slowly I always make it like 15 minutes
Bedtime and sundown.
earlier. Then now I make them in bed at 8. So they get used to it. Then they know like 8 p.m. they should be in bed. So, but I still need to tell them and now it's already and dancing with Isaac. So you have half an hour.
Yeah. So you reduced it by a couple hours then, from 10 to 8, about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So slowly now they go to bed at 8. So.
Yeah. So that was your reality. The kids go to bed at 10, and you realize that you need that time for yourself to do things.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you saw there were some options. One of them was reduce the bedtime, and you took action and you did that. But you said you did it gradually. So
Yes.
did you learn anything from that process of sort of weaning them?
I know if you don't push them, they will keep awake. But I just set a time. Sometimes you need a rule, and you say, okay, now 9:30 you have to be in bed. Either you awake or you sleep, it doesn't matter. You can read in bed, but you must be in bed.
Okay. So you set parameters, but you also said you learned that if you push them, then the less they listen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I cannot put them too hard because then they will have bad dreams. So I have to find a nice way. Like I also tell them the truth. Like I tell them like I also work the whole day. I'm also tired. I also need time to sleep. The thing is, if you are not in bed, I cannot go to sleep. So I think just tell him the truth, so they will understand. Yeah, not completely, but if you tell them every day, they will start to accept it. So acceptance is the first thing. So then I made it.
That's great. Because she could have wanted her kids to instantly go to bed at 8 o'clock instead of 10. But she was taken through a process that taught her how to best communicate with her children that can be used for other things and maybe other people. Not forcing them to do things, but explaining communication. And she would have never gotten that process of that growth and learning if she magically snapped her finger and her kids went to bed at 8. So this is the point I was making, not to invalidate those processes. And you can do that. If you do that from the state you prefer, then it can be an enjoyable experience of growth. So thank you very much.